Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks.
And I'm Cory Bittner, your co-founder and co-host.
Today's our 58th episode, Understanding Company Benefits.
We're going to talk about company benefits and how we help our clients understand them as they approach retirement.
All right, Cory, for today's topic, a big role for our clients as they approach retirement is helping them make sure that they maximize all of their company perks or their benefit plans. And so for today's show, we wanted to go into the various types of plans that we deal with on a daily basis and maybe explain some of them to our audience so they understand exactly what they're getting and how we can help them.
Let's do it.
So why don't you kick us off with one of the most common company benefits that we see out there?
Sure. So to get us kicked off, let's talk about a 401k or a 401k plan. Why don't you just kind of give our listeners and our viewers an idea of what a 401k is, and how it works, and how it benefits an employee?
Right. So with the dissolution of company pensions, the 401k plan has emerged as a retirement savings vehicle for many people. And companies have them as a perk to attract and retain talented individuals. So if you're working at a company that does not offer a 401k or a pension, I would highly encourage you to maybe second guess why you're working there, because it almost everywhere offers some sort of retirement package or plan, whether that's in the form of a pension, a 401k. I know hospitals use 403bs, government entities use 457. So a lot of places have something out there. Mm-hmm. And the most common one that we run into are 401k plans. And again, what they are is they're designed as retirement savings vehicle where you can defer some of your income into these plans and let the money grow tax deferred. Now, one big perk that a lot of companies do offer, and again, the reason they have these is that they do offer some sort of match.
Right.
Whether that's 1%, 3%, 6%, whatever it is, they do typically offer some sort of match. So for our clients, what we do, especially a new client coming in, we want to dive in, if they're still working, into their 401k plan, and we want to help them figure out what that match is and make sure that they are at least taking advantage of that. Bare minimum, it's free money. So again, if you've got to put in 6% and they'll match 3% or 2% or whatever that is, you want to make sure you're doing that because that's literally free money. That's almost like getting a raise, right? Or making more income. And that's definitely why you want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think the best way to view that is very much the company match that is provided as part of your compensation.
Right.
All you have to do is opt in to take advantage of it.
Yeah. So again,
let that go.
And there is a little bit of pain because again, if you're making $100,000 and you're going to put $19,000 in a 401k, well, you're not going to make $100,000.
Right.
Right. So you've got to be disciplined and understand. But hey, you might put in $19,000, but they might give you another 3 or 4. And that's still your money. You're going to have that money later in life when you retire, and that's the whole goal of a 401k. Now, a big problem with the 401k plans, in my opinion, is a lot of HR departments do not give guidance on how to invest your money in a 401k. They leave it up to the employee. Mm-hmm. And a lot of employees, I'd say probably 99% of the people out there aren't qualified to select their own individual investments within a 401k. Now, sometimes some of these big custodians like a Fidelity or a Vanguard or a Empower, they'll give some guidance. But again, you're typically calling a 1-800 number and you're getting some kid in some call center that may or may not know what they're talking about either. So one of our services that we offer for our clients is we will go in there and we will hand select, either pick between their menu of funds, or if they have some sort of other brokerage link capacity where we can go buy stocks within your 401k, we'll certainly advise you on that. So it's a big deal of what we do for our clients.
Right.
And we help them prepare for retirement that way. And again, with us, because you're getting a custom financial plan and then we go into the investments, it's much better than the other way around, where if you call your 401k plan, they're going to start with the investments and hope that works out for your financial plan. So they, in my opinion, they do it a little bit backwards and frankly, it's not their fault. They can't do it any differently because they have literally thousands of participants all over the country, and they don't know what's going on with your debt or your spouse, or if you have kids, or how old you are. I mean, I guess they know how old you are, mm-hmm. But they don't know all of the intricacies and all the conversations that we have with our clients when we're creating financial plans. So again, 401k, I think that's a broad overview. Your company should have one. If they don't, it's a little bit of a red flag to me, in my opinion. There's other ways to save, obviously. So if you really like what you do and they don't offer it, certainly still give us a call. We can help you set up your own plan. You can't set up your own 401k, but there's other ways that you can save. But if your company has a 401k, you want to make sure that you're getting at least the match, and then you want to make sure that you have a qualified professional, particularly a fiduciary advisor like us, looking at those investments and giving you good advice based on your financial plan. It's very important that you have a financial plan before you look at the 401k.
Yep, exactly. And I think just the only thing that I would add to that, and it's kind of a point that you already made, but it's just, so people understand that there are advisors out there that, if there's an advisor like you or me that works with a lot of people at a company, our familiarity with the options available to someone inside of their 401k can be of benefit to someone who's working there.
Absolutely.
If we already know all the funds and the menu of what's available, it makes our job and the experience for the client that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we're very familiar, particularly in Kansas City, with a lot of the major companies in town and their 401k plans and all of their company benefits.
Yep.
And that's the whole point of today's show.
Okay, well, good. So I think we've kind of covered what a 401k plan is. What I want to talk about next is an employee stock purchase plan, or an associate stock purchase plan. Both words get used depending upon, or both phrases get used depending upon the company. Let's talk a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, another nice perk or company benefit option, if you work for a publicly traded company, meaning your company is listed out on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, they'll typically offer the employees to purchase employer stock at a discount. And that's what these associate stock purchase plans are, these employee stock ownership plans. Sometimes they give you the stock, but a lot of times you can purchase a stock. They'll open up a window, and maybe if the stock's trading at $100, you can buy it at $85.
Okay.
Right? So you get a discount, so 15% discount in this scenario. And then you typically have to hold it for maybe a year or two, so you're not just flipping it and turning around and selling it on the open market and making an immediate profit. But we like these. We like these a lot. We like associate stock purchase plans. We like employee stock ownership plans because, again, if you work at a good company and the stock outlook is positive and you can buy it at a discount, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? One thing you want to be very careful of, though, is that you don't want to load up and you don't want to buy too much of company stock because eventually that could hinder your ability to retire if and when something happens and the market pulls back or something with that stock. So you want to be careful how much money you put in there. Again, I'm going to talk about this a lot, but we always revert back to the financial plan. And we want to make sure, first and foremost, you're getting that company match because that's 100%, right? So if you're getting, putting in 3% and they're matching 3%, well, then that's better than a 15% discount. So we want to make sure we get the 401k set up. But then if you've got some extra funds that you could go ahead and put towards buying some of your employer's stock, especially at a 15 or 20% discount, that's a pretty good deal. So it's a nice perk to take advantage of. It's something that you want to, certainly you don't want to avoid it. And we hear this a lot from younger clients that they can't afford to do that. And in my opinion, you simply can't afford not to take advantage of this because the alternative is if you're not saving appropriately for retirement, you're going to have to work forever, right? And maybe some people that's what they want to do, and that's fine. But I mean, ultimately, a lot of our younger clients, they want to retire when they're 50. Well, you can certainly do that, but you're going to have to
save a lot of money.
Yes, you're going to have to max out these company benefit plans when you can. Or even some of our clients in our 50s. Most of our clients are over 50. It's not too late to start this, right? If you're 50, 55 years old and you're going to retire at 60, there's nothing saying you can't opt into this associate stock purchase plan and start accumulating some shares at a discount. And then we'll sell them as you approach retirement.
Right.
So it's a really good perk. Not all companies allow this. Again, your company needs to be publicly traded. So that's a big deal. Not every company is. But if it's out there trading and they offer one, it's definitely worth taking a look at. Again, that's part of our role is we'll take a look at all of the rules. We'll match it up with your financial plan and we'll see if it makes sense for you to participate.
And just like you said, this is almost think of it like as a supplemental to a 401k plan, or as far as your savings for retirement goes, right? It's not one or the other. So if, using myself as an example, if I worked at a publicly traded company and say I put 10% of my money into my 401k, my company matched 3% of that, maybe I contribute another 2% of my income to something like this employee stock purchase plan, because what's different about it, right, is that it's not going to be pre-tax money necessarily like a 401k
Yeah, not
plan.
necessarily, right? Exactly. So you have to be careful, right? So you also we want to take a look at your
Understanding all of
taxes.
that.
Yep, we'll take a look at your taxes. Make sure that we've got a plan for that also. But you're right. But they coincide. They work together. This isn't advice, but there's a lot of people it makes sense to probably do both.
Sure.
But again, we would want to look at the financial plan and your tax situation first, and then we can give you some good advice as to far as how you take advantage of both benefits.
Okay, good. So sticking with the idea of company stock, if you work for a publicly traded company, next let's talk about stock options, and not the type of options where we talk about calls and puts and some of the stuff that we've discussed on the show before, but stock options through your employer.
Right. So this is it's a little bit confusing, I think, a lot of times to the employees. But what a stock option grant is an employee will typically, an employer will award their employees stock option grants. And the idea is it's a little bit of a golden handcuff, meaning they want to award these to you so that you stay working with them until they vest, because they typically have a vesting schedule. Let's say maybe you get 20% of them a year or over 5 years or something of that nature. And then you can cash them in. And so what will happen is if the stock's trading at $50 a share, they'll say, okay, Cory, we're going to give you 1,000 stock options at $50 a share, but you're only going to be able to sell those 20% a year over 5 years.
Okay.
Now, the important thing to know is that if the stock goes down below 50, that's what's called underwater, and typically they're worthless. So the whole gain would be if it goes above 50. So you don't make any money unless the stock goes above 50. So if the stock goes to 100, well, now you have to buy the option for $50 because again it's an option. So you buy the option for 50, but then you can sell around and sell your stock for 100. So you make the $50 difference. So again, it is a little bit more complex. They're typically given to people as awards, and they want you to stay there and help make the company more profitable. Because then if the stock goes up, then you benefit from it. There are a lot of tax implications that come along with stock options too. Again, it's always, nobody likes paying their taxes typically on them, but you got to remember this is a perk. This is something that you might not have even had without the employer offering it to you. So oftentimes there's not much you can do to avoid paying the taxes. There are some charitable vehicles that maybe is a topic for another show that we could get into. But ultimately they are taxable typically when you exercise them. But again, the idea is that this is an award. You can think of it as a bonus, right? Something. So we like stock options. There's a really, really good company out there called Stock Opter that we have access to. Well, what we actually do, and I think it's made for financial advisors to use for clients. I mean, because there's a lot of technical jargon built into the program. But the idea is that we can plug all of your stock options into this program, and it'll tell us when is the most opportune time to exercise your options, and take a look at volatility, expected return, and all of those things. So it's a pretty neat tool. We've used it before. So certainly if you're out there and you're listening or you're watching this, and you've got some stock options and you want Cory and I to take a deep dive into that, Stock Opter is a service that you and I pay for. We don't charge that back to our clients, but it is something that we're definitely happy to plug your options into and take a look at it and see if it makes sense to exercise any of them, or maybe you hold them. So, but again, another perk, another something that you want to have plugged into your financial plan. You definitely want to work with an advisor like Falcon Wealth Advisors who are very familiar with stock option plans.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So following that, though, let's talk about restricted stock, right? So we've talked about stock options like you just went over. What is restricted stock?
Yeah, so restricted stock is a lot simpler. So the whole idea is this is, again, another bonus, typically from the employer. And they're just simply going to give you shares outright. Now, you typically have to wait, again, for a certain day for the vesting to occur. So it might be 3 years or 5 years, whatever it is. But they're going to say, hey, Cory, we're going to give you 1,000 shares and you'll be able to cash those in 3 years.
Okay.
But that's waiting for you. So again, it's another golden handcuff is the term, where they want you to stay working for them so that you have to wait for that to vest to get the shares. But it's a good perk because it's different than an option in that you don't need the stock price to go up for them to be worth something. If the stock's at $50 when you get them, and by the time you qualify to sell them, it's at 40. Well, you get to sell them at 40 still. They're not worthless.
Got it.
So I like restricted stock better, in my opinion. There's less, you don't have to worry about the option being underwater as much. They're a little simpler. You just get the shares outright once you're vested. And they are taxable typically.
Right.
So again, it's another tax concern that you want to be aware of. But in my experience, it typically will just, if you get 1,000 shares, maybe they sell 200 of them to cover the taxes, and then you net out 800 shares or whatever that is. Companies typically make it pretty easy.
Gotcha. So is that something like that typically part of someone's compensation plan, or might it be that if they hit certain incentives, they receive restricted stock? I'm just curious.
I think it can be both. I think it depends on the employer, but normally, I don't know. What have you seen? I think maybe, I don't know if it's part of their compensation. I would think it's more of an award or a bonus. But it's a nice perk. It's nice. It's something to be familiar with and to understand. And again, we're happy to read through all of those legal documents associated with the restricted stock. And help explain that in English a little bit so you can understand what's going on there. But again, another nice perk if your company offers it. It's typically not something you have to opt in or out of. They just give them to you. And then you just got to understand that if you're going to retire, though, that you want to make sure that you wait until you're vested, right? So if you've got some restricted stock coming down the pipeline here, and if you can work 6 more months and get $50,000 more by working 6 more months, then that's certainly something you want to be aware of. You don't want to forget about them.
Okay, right, good. So if someone's working at a company where you have a 401k plan that you're contributing to and your employer matches, you have the ability to purchase discounted shares of your company stock through an associate stock purchase plan. You have stock options, you have restricted stock. It's a lot, right? It's a lot that we're talking about, and it's a lot we're going over.
And you're supposed to work full time and be a good husband or wife and raise your kids and go on vacation. That's why you and I have jobs.
Right. Yeah, there's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
So I think the reason that I'm bringing that up is we do have the tools and the knowledge, and these are the discussions that we have with clients nearly every day, where we can help you understand how to pull all of that together and to optimize it and make it work best for you.
What's really nice is our financial planning software will plug all of that together so you can see it all nicely in a consolidated view, and then it spits out all the projected returns and the data, and it'll tell you what does that mean for me in my retirement. And if you're going at it alone, or you're working with an advisor that's not updating these plans very often or regularly, or they're not familiar with your company benefits, you're doing yourself a disservice, because again, working with somebody that's very familiar with a company benefit plan just makes, like you said, it that much easier and that much better for the client.
Yep. Okay, good. So moving along to another company benefit that I wanted to talk about. This is a little bit different in that it doesn't necessarily tie directly to somebody's company stock or them saving specifically for the goal of retirement. But there's some companies that provide charitable giving tools.
Right.
More specifically, something like a donor advised fund.
Yeah, so we've talked about donor advised funds before on our show, and you absolutely don't need to work for a corporation to have access to one.
Right.
But we have seen where sometimes a company will offer that as part of one of their perks or one of their benefits. So again, you just want to be aware of that. It's a tax savings vehicle, where if you're already charitably inclined, you can use a strategy that we've talked about called bunching before, where you front load your charitable donations and you get a big tax deduction, and then the money stays invested and grows basically tax-free as long as you use it for charitable purposes. So again, if your company offers a donor advised fund, it's something definitely that you shouldn't ignore if you're giving to charity. If you're not giving to charity, it doesn't really apply. But if you are donating to a church or anything that's classified as a 501c3, you definitely should be looking at using a donor advised fund, especially since the tax code has changed. There's some things that you can do, like I said, is called bunching. If you go to falconwealthadvisors.com and check out our blog section, we have an article written about bunching. You definitely can take advantage of lowering some taxes by doing that.
Okay, good. Good. All right. So next we have life insurance. I know it's not always the most fun thing to talk about, but it is typically the part of somebody's financial picture. Let's talk about employer provided or employer offered, I guess I should say, life insurance plans. Yeah,
we're a big fan of using company provided or offered life insurance. It's typically going to be a lot cheaper than going out and buying it through a life insurance agent. So normally they'll offer some sort of free perk, 1 times your salary, 1.5, 2 times. But again, you'd want to work with a professional like us. We can do a life insurance needs analysis that works in conjunction with your financial plan that will tell you exactly how much life insurance that you should have. It's based on debt, lifestyle, when you want to retire, how much you want to spend, if you're married or single, if you have children, if the children are dependent or not. So again, there's a lot of variables that go into that, but it'll tell us how much you should have. Maybe you should have $1 million, $2 million, whatever that is.
Sure.
And if you can buy it through your company, it's almost always cheaper than going out and buying it out in the open market. Now, there is a big risk with buying it through your company, though. And that risk is if you get fired or you leave and then you go work for somewhere else, they might not offer that same benefit or that perk. So you want to be careful of that. That's another reason to maybe going out and buying some term insurance or something that's cheap out on the open market. But we usually like to start with your company's insurance. Make sure we're taking advantage of that because it typically is very inexpensive.
Right.
First, and then we'll look outside if necessary. And if you obviously think that you're at a high risk for switching jobs, and that's a different conversation altogether. But be aware of that. If you're 50 years old or 30 years old or 20, however old you are, we can do a life needs analysis for you, and then we'll go into your company benefit plan and say, hey, how much does this cost to get the amount of coverage that we want? And it's often very inexpensive.
Yep, and not to keep necessarily beating the same drum, but in the financial planning process for someone, if you don't know how much life insurance you have or you don't know how much life insurance you need, that's part of what it is that we can do. Those are the tools that we have at our disposal to run an analysis and help somebody understand based on what they're trying to accomplish and their lifestyle and everything else. Here's how much you really ought to look at. Maybe purchasing that through your company is the most cost-effective way to do it.
Yeah, and you want to be careful too because you typically, and this isn't advice, but typically you don't need a lot of life insurance as you enter retirement.
Right.
Life insurance is used to pay off significant debt, raise dependent children, or replace wages. Well, for a lot of our clients at least, none of those variables apply anymore. They don't have much debt, their kids are grown and gone, and they're retired. So there are no wages to replace. They've got a nice nest egg that they've built up, so they don't need to have a big life insurance policy anymore. That's why we like buying it through a corporation.
Right.
So if you're going to work at your company until you're 60 or 65 or however old that is, maybe you have $3 million of life insurance, but maybe when you retire, it goes away. But you know what? You might not need it anymore.
Right.
So something to be aware of. Again, first and foremost, though, you want to figure out how much do you need according to your financial plan, and then we'll look at the different options that you have out there.
Okay.
Good one. That's another good one. It's another good perk that companies offer.
Good. So
some companies, not all companies, I guess.
Sure. Sticking with the the healthcare component of it, we talked about life insurance, right? Healthcare is one thing, but specifically as far as healthcare in a company goes, what about an HSA or a health savings account or a flex spending account? Let's talk a little bit about what that is and how that can help someone.
Yeah, we like these a lot. So a health savings account you can almost think of as like a Roth IRA for your medical needs. Actually, it's even better than that if you look at it. So what it is it's typically an account through your company that you can put pre-tax dollars in. So again, you're deferring taxes because you're not paying taxes on a portion of your income. Sometimes they'll let you invest the money, so the money will be invested and grow. And then you can use it to pay for doctor's visits, prescription drugs, co-pays, whatever that may be. And then when you pull the money out, it's not taxed, right? So that's the whole idea, is that you're deferring some of your income tax by putting money in there. If you invest it and let it grow, and then you can use it for medical premiums, or even, if you retired 55 and you've got 10 years until you can get on Medicare, it's an account that you could build up and put $50,000, $100,000 in and use that to pay for health insurance while you're on your own until you hit Medicare age. So we like these a lot. Also, again, they're complex. There's all different types of plans out there. So it's important that you sit down with a competent financial advisor that can help guide you through it and help you understand it. But I want to be very clear here that these are typically the last things we fund. We want to fund that 401k first, right? And looking at making sure that we can set you up to retire and afford to do that. I would hate for somebody to max out these health savings accounts and put too much money in them, but they can never retire. So then what's the point?
Right.
So
good point.
So these are another perk, right? They're another piece of the overall financial plan. They're not a necessity to retire. Again, it's a nice add-on and nice something to bolt on in addition. And our clients that have health savings accounts, I've seen them go into retirement very, very nicely because they've already got their health insurance premiums covered because they've got a nice nest egg in a health savings account. So we do like them. But certainly you want to make sure that you can be able to build them up, $50,000, $100,000, something like that, to help bridge that gap until Medicare. Medicare's not free, but the cost typically goes down a little bit once you get on Medicare. So we like them. Another good perk. You shouldn't ignore it.
Yep, absolutely. And then lastly, I know there's some companies that offer a legal plan.
Like a prepaid legal. Yeah.
Exactly.
So prepaid legal plans, in my opinion, they're very cheap typically, but you get what you pay for. So Corey, if you get a speeding ticket in your new car and you had a prepaid legal service, they might be able to help with that. I think if you needed a simple will, probably okay. But again, this isn't advice. I don't know too much about that. Ultimately, though, if you have something complex going on or you need a full-blown trust or something like that, I still think it's better to go and pay the full price and go to a professional. Because again, if you're only paying $8 a month for something,
sure,
how good is that service really going to be in the end, right? And maybe because all the money's pooled together and you still can get a really competent attorney, maybe. Again, I don't know too much about them, but there's always I've been a little wary of a prepaid legal service because it's so cheap. It just is like, well, what am I really going to get for this? So definitely something to look at, though. And if you have one of those as an option, please bring in the documents. We're happy to take a look at it, and we can compare doing that versus if you just went to another attorney. Or maybe there's a good network of attorneys on your prepaid legal service, and we know who they are, and we feel good about it. That certainly could be the case. But again, that's something that you want your wealth advisor, our team at Falcon Wealth Advisors is happy to dig into and help you make a good decision based upon that.
All right. I think that's it as far as I had for company benefits and plans.
That's a lot. The takeaway is, you have all these perks and it's confusing and it's a lot to sift through. And your HR department's only going to be so helpful. I mean, ultimately, they can't give you advice as it pertains to you specifically. That's not their job. And typically the custodian, Fidelity or Vanguard or Empower, they're not going to, they probably will give you advice, but you're probably going to have to pay them for it, right? And again, you're going to be calling some 1-800 number of somebody that doesn't know anything about you necessarily. And so, so again, that's part of our services is helping dive through these company benefit plans. We enjoy doing it for our clients. We're very familiar, particularly in Kansas City, with a lot of the big companies in town because we have a lot of clients from those companies. And again, it's something that you definitely shouldn't ignore. And it's a simple phone call. Set up a meeting with us. We'll go through it all. Maybe we'll meet one more time and then we'll get you set up and you won't have to worry about it. And you know that your future with your financial planning and all that will be taken care of. And you've got a team of people that are here to act as fiduciaries, again, as independent-minded advisors to help you navigate all of those ideas.
That's exactly right.
Good. So on to our fun topic. Do you have anything interesting going on in your life that you wanted to share with everyone?
I'm getting married next month.
What day? I don't even know the day.
October 12th.
October 12th. That's going to be here before you know it.
You're telling me.
Are you nervous?
Not nervous, no.
You've done a lot more wedding planning than I did for my wedding.
I know. I think that's interesting. I know we've talked about that a little bit.
I'm a pretty lucky guy that Rachel kind of just took that upon herself. But have you enjoyed that process?
Yeah, I have. For the most part, it's been, I'll tell you this, and I've told a lot of people this because I think it's kind of funny looking back on it now that everybody told me when you're planning a wedding, it's going to be more work than you think it's going to be, and it's going to be more expensive than you think it's going to be. And I thought, despite the fact that everybody told me that I thought I would figure out like the low cost, low stress way to plan a wedding. I was 100% wrong.
So you've spent more than you had budgeted?
No, not more than we budgeted. It's more the fact that we had a budget and I was trying to keep it at a smaller number than that. But I learned that wasn't really going to be possible.
And then you said it's just as stressful as people had warned you?
Not really stressful. I think it's more just about the actual amount of planning that goes into it, right? Like I was thinking if it's not going to be some big extravaganza or we're keeping, the number of people relatively limited, that a consequence of all of that would be there'd be less planning involved, but that's not really the case.
Would you consider yourself an expert? So the next wedding you have, you'll be able to do this a lot better. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I do. I feel like, though, I have learned a lot about it, and I've thought probably after all is said and done here that I'm going to write something about it.
That's
because
a good idea.
I think it might be helpful for parents that are helping their kids through this process, or somebody else who's thinking about getting married, or whatever it might be. Even grandparents, because I do feel like I've learned a lot. And I've gotten a lot of good advice just throughout this whole process. But it's been a lot of fun, but it definitely is not, it's just not something to be taken lightly.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I'm glad you and Cassie, I'm sure that's been a bonding experience too, working through that together. And I'm excited for you guys. And Rachel and I are looking forward
Thank you.
To it. And your bachelor party's coming up.
That's right.
We're going to Chicago to watch Cubs Cards.
That's right.
That'll be a I'm looking forward to that also.
Here in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I bet it'll be nice weather, won't it?
It should be.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's exciting.
Mid to late September ought to be nice.
And I guess both of them are in the hunt, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that'll be fun to watch because the Royals haven't been much to pay attention
Yeah,
to.
I know.
So,
well, hey, they're going to have a new owner and maybe a new location. So we'll see.
no, really?
Yeah, well, they're pretty serious. It seems that they're pretty serious about when the time comes, trying to figure out how they can move the team to downtown.
Isn't the lease like 10 more years or something?
I'm
now?
not sure. I think
Yeah,
it's something
it's a
like
while,
that. But that was highlighted basically in this whole plan for a new ownership and for the team to be sold. That one of the things that they're going to be looking at when it's a possibility is relocating the team closer to downtown.
Interesting. That'd be kind of cool.
It would be neat.
What's new with me, and a lot of our clients know this already, is that we've got Rachel and I got a new puppy dog.
What's his name?
So his name's Einstein. Rachel always wanted a dog and wanted to name it Einstein, so that's what happened. It's a golden doodle. It's light colored, so it kind of looks like Einstein a little bit. But it's been interesting. I told my wife the other day, I was like, "You're gonna be a great mom by the way that you treat this dog." And I was recommending. I think I recommend this. It's probably too late because you're already getting married, but. When you're in a relationship, I think before even you commit, if you're concerned about how the other partner will be as a parent, I think getting a dog together is a good test. Believe it or not,
You think?
I do because
I feel like people with children would resent that. Maybe not resent that.
Well,
I guess.
I mean, a puppy is it's a early on living organism,
Okay,
and
that's
it
fair.
needs to be
All right.
nurtured. And
Fair
yes,
point.
a baby is far more important and far different. But what I'm getting at is I've seen Rachel's motherly skills come out, like
Like a maternal instinct.
yeah,
Almost.
yeah. She'll wake up early with a dog, or she'll feed it, or she'll sacrifice a lot of her personal time for this dog, where I don't as much.
So she did the wedding planning. She takes care of the puppy.
No, but I think I'm a good
just
I'm a
kidding.
good dog owner. But I
know
really
you are.
I've really admired her. How
Commitment?
yes, her commitment to the dog, and I help out as much as I can. Neither of us really know what we're doing,
Sure.
which is fun. But
That's the way it's gonna be.
But she does great. She does great with the dog, and so I already knew she'd be a great mom one day. But now I've got supreme confidence because I see her take care of this pet. So imagine if we have a human, how much more important that's gonna be to both of us. And I'm confident that she'll just merge right in and be good at that also. So it's been fun. And I was surprised at this too. I read in a book, I didn't know this, that people that own dogs live 10 years longer. I don't know if you knew that. 10 years.
10 years?
It's a long time, yeah. And I was surprised at how much joy this dog can actually bring.
Really, for both
Yes,
of you?
yes, and it's different. And it's different because it's my dog. I think it's got to be your dog, because if you had a dog and I went over there, I probably wouldn't care and it probably wouldn't bring me much joy. But because I come home from work and this dog is always happy to see me no matter what in the world's going on, I don't know, there's a lot to be said about that. And so I kind of believe it now a little bit, that people always say pet owners are happy or whatever. And I never really liked dogs growing up for whatever reason, but now I completely get it. I completely get why people own dogs, and I completely see the joy. I mean, even Rachel, even though this dog drives us crazy, I see it. The dog brings her a lot of joy, and it brings me a lot of joy too. So it's pretty interesting.
Has it been more work than you thought it'd be?
No, believe it or not.
Maybe
we
that's
got
a question
pretty
for Rachel.
right. We got pretty lucky though. I mean,
Okay.
it's only it hasn't been many accidents in the house. Again, I think we're just both responsible pet
Yeah,
owners. That
right.
I don't think so. Rachel it's probably been a little bit more for work. We just signed up for training classes.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so we're going to get it trained, and I think that'll help out because it's biting too much now, and
Sure.
it doesn't want to go for walks. And so we're going to try to work out some of those kinks. Then I think it'll be really easy. But
How long is a class like that, out of curiosity?
they're expensive, by the way, too.
I figured
but,
that.
They're going to come to our house.
Okay, nice.
They're going to come to our house, I think, 3 days a week for a month. And believe it or not, we don't even need to be there.
I was going to say, will you be there? Not
I
necessarily?
think we're going to be there 1 day a week.
Okay.
And they're going to kind of show us. Ultimately, the training, I think, is for us, frankly. Train us on how to train
Yeah,
the
good
dog.
point.
But I think they're going to come in for an hour or two, maybe a day, work with the dog, train them, and then on the the last day of the week of the 3 days, they're going to show us probably how to do it. Is how I'm picturing. My neighbor referred these people
gonna
to
say,
me.
how did you find these
The neighbor
trainers?
referred the people to me, and so we're going to give them a go, and and work out some of the kinks and go from there. So, but it's been fun. And again, a lot of joy, which
It's
I was
good
surprised
for you guys.
with.
I'm happy
yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah, surprised, frankly. But
happy wife, happy life.
that's right. Yep, absolutely. That's the key. So that's the most important thing.
Yep.
So, well, thank you again, as always, for tuning in. That's all the time that we have for today. But as always, please feel free to share our content with your friends and family. Certainly, if you're watching this is on YouTube. If you don't mind hitting that like button or subscribing to our page, we would really appreciate it. If you're listening to this on a podcast, whether it's iTunes or Spotify, you want to give our show a 5-star rating because that's what you think it warrants. We really appreciate that as well. We're starting to get some more traction with our audience, so we really appreciate everybody. We're out there on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm out there on Twitter and all those social media platforms. And Cory, I know you are as well. I don't know if you want to put your handle out there, but
my Twitter handle is @CoryBittnerKC, and
yeah,
yours is
Jake Falcon CRPC. And thanks again for watching, and we hope you all have a great week.